So now maybe you want to add another variable to the data frame. So we have height and shoe size of people in our data set. Maybe they're men and women. So what we'll do is create a new variable named sex. So you have sex is equal to a vector and make that a series of ones and zeros. And then we'll want to check out our data frame. Once we type in measurements and hit enter, we'll notice that height and shoe come up, but sex didn't come up. And that's because we actually just created the vector sex. We didn't add it to the data frame. So in order to do that, we'll have to add the vector sex to our data frame. So let's do that now. Sorry about that, my phone just went off. So to do that, we'll create a new variable named sex in our measurements data frame. So measurements $sex means we're defining this sex variable within the data frame of measurements. It's going to equal a factor, right? It's a factor variable, a nominal variable, and it's the vector sex. It has levels 0 and 1, and those levels have labels female and male. So let's check out the data frame now, and you'll see that our measurements data frame now has height, shoe, and sex. Now there is an important difference between sex in the measurements data frame and the sex vector. Right? So if you look at the class of the sex vector, it comes up as numeric. It understands that as pardon me, a ratio variable, whereas if you look at the class of measurements $sex, the sex variable within the data frame, it comes up as a factor. And that factor is seen as a nominal variable by R. So when we added that vector above, sex was taken as a series of zeros and ones. That was looked at as a number, numeric or ratio variable, whereas when we put it into our data frame, we said it is a factor. And that factor is a nominal variable with two levels, 0 and 1, labeled female and male. So let's move on and let's create a new data set. This one is going to be scores on a test for group A and group B, let's say. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to enter the test scores for the two groups. And I'll do that by copying and pasting from a text file that I have. Here's the scores for group A, and I'm going to copy in and paste the scores for group B. You can press pause and do that on your own if you'd like, or just follow along, and you'll be able to see what I do with this going forward. So what I'm going to do now is combine this so that we have one variable or one vector of test scores. So scores is going to be equal to a vector A comma B. So that's just going to put all of those together, all those scores together in one scores vector. So type in scores and you'll be able to check out what we just created. So there we have it as all of our scores A and B in one variable. But we want to be able to identify which groups those came from. So let's create a group vector. And we're just going to call that group is equal to a vector. And we're going to want to repeat 1. That'll be for group A. And we want to repeat 1 the number of times equal to the length of group A. So times equal length A. And we want to do the same thing for group B. We'll call that 2. Repeat or rep 2 times equal length of B. Now once we enter that in, we should go in and check it out. There should be a number of 1s and a number of 2s. There we have it. So the number of 1s equals the length of group A. The number of 2s equals the length of group B.